what's happening, everyone? I've got Matias here today with us. And so you are a film critic.
You could say that. I started doing that in 2013. I had worked in the film industry prior to that, but the industry had changed right around that time. I had been a movie exhibitor initially and started my career here in Sacramento, California, where I was the manager of the Crest Theater downtown from 1986 to 91. I also worked at the Colonial Guild, Tower, Sacramento Inn cinemas that used to be on Arden Way that were later demolished. So I worked as an exhibitor most of my life, and with the Guild Theater and the Crest Theater, I specialized in programming repertory films or classic movies, which we paired with newsreels, cartoons, trying to recreate the original experience of what it was like to go to those theaters when those theaters were new. Well, the arrival of home video and then later the video rental stores, Blockbusters and everything was really competitive for that. At the time, there was no Turner Classic Movies or anything like that, so the only way you could see an old movie in the late 80s was if some theater showed it. So if you wanted to see Blade Runner again, or if you wanted to see any of the great classics from Hollywood, Gone with the Wind or Wizard of Oz, you had to wait till your local theater showed it. So amongst those repertory theaters that were existing in Sacramento at that time, which included the Tower, the Showcase, which was on L Street at 4th, across from where now the Golden One Center is, and there were several other little theaters, the J Street Theater, were places where people could see these classic films and repertory titles. So I've worked in that field, and then I was up in Oregon for some time from 1996 to 2005, where I was running a little 200-seat theater called the Bijou, managing that for a while, showing an occasional classic, but mostly first run. And near the end of that period, right around 2000, we started hearing about this digital transition to movies being on what is now known as DCP, or Digital Cinema Package, which is a digital presentation of film, and that film was going away and it was all going to be thrown out. And so, seeing the writing on the wall, I had a skill set that had now become completely obsolete, and I had to figure out what could I possibly do that could channel my knowledge base in a new avenue. I had a little side trip working for NPR here in Sacramento as an announcer on KXJZ, the Capital Public Radio, now called Cap Radio, where I did a Sunday night program called Classic Jazz and Swing, which was exactly as the title infers, music from 1927 to 1950 that featured great jazz and swing recordings. So it was fun doing that for a while because I've always loved radio. I've got a face and body for radio, so it seemed like the logical thing for me to do. So at that time, I was also working at the Oakland Paramount, giving tours of the theater when they would show movies. So it was the radio, and I sort of was kind of drifting, and I said, what would I do if I could channel my movie knowledge into something interesting? And so I thought, why don't I try to review movies that are new, but from my perspective, which is somewhat antiquated, or at least my shtick is to a certain degree old-fashioned. I don't think of it as nostalgic because I just like to speak clearly and distinctly and use English as a language, as opposed to using malaprops or just slang or just very common speaking. I like to enunciate. I used to listen to those old records the NBC radio announcers would listen to make sure that their tone and pronunciation was absolutely perfect. And, it was great stuff. So I had that training, and I wanted to deliver this new stuff in my way, which hopefully the incongruity of the two things would be an interesting combination. So we started doing this as YouTube videos, Matias Bombal's Hollywood, in 2013. And we made the videos black and white and in the Academy ratio, which is the aspect ratio where the picture is square, which all movies had been until 1954 when they came out with CinemaScope. So I'm sitting there on a set of a radio station that looks like it's 1938 or 40, delivering completely serious the latest review of whatever DC comic book movie, where we would then say, and here's a scene where such and such and such and such, and the image would dissolve to a square version of in color, though, of the scene from the movie, and then the screen would grow out to whatever the aspect ratio, modern aspect ratio, would show the clip, and then it would dissolve back to me, back in the square thing. And we were hoping that would be a YouTube sensation and would take off, but no. But, people who saw it thought that the production values were extraordinary, because they were. We didn't use any digital backgrounds. We didn't do anything. We actually lit it with old-fashioned tungsten Mole Richardson lamps. It was lit exactly like a movie set would have been in 1938.
Wow.
We used real RCA ribbon microphones, the 44BX ribbon mic. That was what you heard me speaking over. We actually used it. It wasn't a prop. And so the values were really great, and people who are nerds about that kind of thing thought it was the greatest thing. And so we had a small group of people who were so into it because they got it. The rest of the people just thought, oh, I have to wait through this title sequence? I just want the review, because people now are in a hurry. They want everything in small bites that somehow give them some degree of satisfaction. And there's just no way to accurately talk about a movie in a short amount of time. Now, having said this, I now prostitute myself doing exactly just that on the radio. YouTube was always a nightmare because even though we had licensed clips, they'd always take down every review the day it came out, and by the time they went through their process of verifying that we had rights, the movie was now 3 weeks old and no longer in theaters, and there was no point of having the review there. So YouTube became my least favorite thing, and then they ended up making money on my stuff, and I didn't like that.
Yeah.
So I just gave up. I started a Vimeo channel. I didn't really give up. I had a house fire, destroyed the set. And so that just put me out for about 3 years. And
Where at?
In the Greenhaven Pocket area of Sacramento.
Oh, God.
So the set was this beautiful set that we had in the house, and the lights were all there, and then the fire took it out. So it was concurrent with all of that happening that Mary Jane in 2013 Mary Jane Pop had me on her radio program out of K-High Radio in Auburn talking about movies. So she was the first person to bring me back to radio after I'd worked at NPR. And that was good, but it still wasn't enough to impress Hollywood in order to get into these movies for free. And so eventually I picked up a few more radio stations. Bud Kress, who has several internet radio stations, like that 70s channel, that 90s channel, that are just on the internet, he came to me and said, could you produce a movie review that is a 90-second movie review so that we can have something in the morning drive time? And I'm thinking, that's just brutal, because with the theme music and the exit music, that leaves about 55 seconds of movie review, which leaves really maybe 35 to 40 seconds of explaining what the movie's about and 10 seconds of opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's a significant time to even say the title of the movie.
Right. So, but I've done it, and I've done it since about 2022. And with that pre-produced unit, which he shared on his internet stations, suddenly I had all sorts of small stations asking for these. So those have become syndicated. And now I'm on radio stations from coast to coast with this 90-second audio Matias Bombal's Hollywood version that stemmed from the original video stuff that we had on YouTube and later Vimeo. And so that's now the bulk of my output. Simultaneously, Walter Sterling, who used to be the vice president of NBC and ABC, who started Howard Stern on his career, brought him to Sirius Radio, heard one of my reviews and liked it so much that he's asked me to, look, I don't want to play your canned reviews. I want you on the air with me every Sunday night, coast to coast, on 50,000 watt stations. And we'll talk for 10 minutes about what the latest movie is. So I have the syndicated 90-second reviews, and I'm on with Walter Sterling. Here, it's heard on KFBK right around 7:35 every Sunday night, and 50 other large stations. So now Hollywood likes me, and they invite me to big deals. I'm a member of the Critics' Choice Association. We have the Critics' Choice Awards every year in January in Hollywood. I go down to that, and now they're sending me all kinds of gifts to try to get me to vote on these pictures. and I don't let that sway me in the slightest. I really don't. I like them because, to be frank, it makes for great Christmas presents for friends.
Yeah.
It saves me a few bucks. Because most of the stuff they send are movies that I'm not interested in. I must watch 3 movies a week. And if I can remember what I saw last week, if you asked me what I saw last week, I couldn't tell you the title. I just go into this, I see it, I analyze it, I write the 90-second copy, I record it, I send it to the syndicator, and I've since forgotten it. So when it comes to the end of the year and I have to vote on these things, I actually have to go and look at all the titles, and I'll think, what was that about? And then I listen to my night, that one. And then I can make accurate choices. But it's true. I mean, I spend most of my time watching movies, writing movies, and there's damn little time for anything else. But I have found time for something else, and I'll tell you about that, too, when you're ready for that.
Writing movies?
No, well, I mean, I write the
reviews,
yeah.
Of course. That's wild to be able to... From one point, you are thinking like you're seeing the writing on the walls. You're seeing like that this industry is transforming, and your skill set becoming what you thought was obsolete. But you were able to transition that into something else. I mean, I don't know if it's more rewarding to you, because I think maybe you got into that because that was your passion, the old theater style, the old movies. But I mean, gosh, you can't complain.
Well, I can complain because there's no money in it. I mean, how much money are you making with these? I mean, you get it. I mean, you understand.
I mean, these guys aren't even sponsoring me yet. One day.
Although you can tell I don't miss many meals. But to be frank, there truly is no cash in this operation. You think there would be. I can charge some of these, the initial stations I needed to even be within the realm of being acceptable in the Critics' Choice Association. You need so many outlets, which means you have to have so many numbers of people that follow those outlets, because they use Arbitron, or they use, if you're just only online, you have to have so many unique monthly visits, like 75,000 or more. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do that is to spread out over all these different outlets to have an aggregate that gives you those numbers to be in the club, to be part of these things. So those initial stations, I called them my legacy stations as a joke, but the ones that took my product and pay nothing for it are the ones that give me the access to what I need to be able to do the show, the work. But now, any new station comes on. I just picked up a station, KBCH in Lincoln City, Oregon. They're paying $250 a month for whatever the output is, and so I'm starting to, just now. Since 2013, I'm starting to realize a few shekels, but it's been all this time and no money. So I've explored other avenues that take me back to my roots, which have been very interesting.
So, man, that is, I mean, I have to commend you for that, because that's, a lot of people would see that and say, well, that's it for me. Early retirement, or I don't know, find a different career, but you were able to almost reinvent yourself.
It's a constant process. You have to keep doing it all the time. Life isn't about the goals. It's about the work constantly in that direction. If the goals themselves vanish after you achieve them. It's like riding a motorcycle. You go 75 miles an hour. Oh, that's cool, but now you got to go 80 miles an hour. Oh, no, that's cool, but now I got to go 90 miles an hour. There's no... Yeah. You know what I mean? You reach a point, and then, then now it becomes old hat.
Yeah.
I don't have any kind of aggressive interest in my own career. I'm not really egocentric in that way. I don't think I am anyway. I mean, I try to clean up and show up nice, but
I know I feel underdressed.
but the point is, it's not out of vanity. It's just out of courtesy to other people, so they don't have to see the disheveled mess that I actually present. But the point of fact is that it's doing the work that I love. And when we started this little chinwag, I talked about my obsolete skills that had gone away, and here it's been almost 20 years. But just last year and a half ago, I had a wonderful opportunity connected to, because of people hearing me on the radio, especially out of KCEA in Atherton, which gives my radio reviews exposure all over the San Francisco Bay Area, that the Orinda Theater in Orinda, California, another connection Mary Jane Popp made for me years ago.
What a gal.
She's the source of all great luck. I owe everything to her. She connected me with the operator of that theater, Derek Zemrak, when they needed an MC for the California Film Festival 2 years ago. They liked my work so much, they asked me would you consider showing classic movies here? And so suddenly I'm doing exactly what I did at the Crest Theater when I was 19 years old, and I'm doing it all over again, and it's very gratifying. I show a newsreel, a cartoon, short subjects, then I introduce the picture, and we show this beautifully restored copy of the movie in a vintage 1941 theater, so it's really time travel.
So it's on film?
No, it's digital, but it's, it is so masterfully assembled and produced that we've fooled projectionists and industry specialists who think they're watching film because they see the Q mark. We have film scanned in 4K resolution, actual film prints. So there's a little bit of dirt or a Q mark or something, and it's not as pristine as a commercial release would be. And they think they're really watching film. And to me, to be able to pull the wool over the eyes of industry experts is a great deal of a gratifying experience.
It's like now you have a different aspect. You have the illusion too,
right?
You know, God, that's awesome. I actually used to live just a block away from that theater.
Oh,
in Orinda.
Did you ever go?
I did.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, I think they showed like some kind of a Halloween movie that I saw there, or maybe it was A Wonderful Life during Christmas. Mm-hmm. It was one of those, you know, to where it's like it was either Christmas or Halloween. You know, that's when people that don't necessarily go to movies, right. They're like, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to see something, you know. But that is wild.
It is wild. And to think that the Orinda Theater was built by the same architect which built the Crest in Sacramento, it makes it feel very at home for me. It's really an interesting set of bookends, and all of this has transpired in the middle. But I continue to, of course, do the radio work and MC work. And now, of course, working in Orinda, that's augmented not just classic films. I do a repertory schedule there on Sundays. In the coming year, I'll be doing a series of widescreen roadshow epics like Ben-Hur and Camelot and all this stuff. And so I'm now in Orinda more often than I am in my hometown. I get more work out of Sacramento than I do in Sacramento.
Orinda is an expensive place, though.
Well, I don't have to live there.
Yeah.
But I do love that it's like Mayberry. You can leave your car unlocked, nothing happens. And it's just on the other side of the Caldecott Tunnel from Oakland. I mean, it's like it's like a separation of two different countries. It's like going right into Switzerland or The Hague out of, some more war-torn and ravaged nation. So it's charming. It's quite charming, and I love it. And I don't know why people don't know more about Orinda, because it is very clean, it's very charming, and I think that it's nestled in those little hills off of Highway 24, and people just sort of see the marquee of the Orinda as they pass down the highway, but they never venture off the exit to see what's over there.
You're going to ruin the secret.
Well, it's a lot of very affluent people that have retired there, and a lot of movie stars and film people live there as well. I mean, it's fun to see those people show up just to watch movies at the Orinda Theater. I may be there working a shift to cover some assistant manager or something, and in will walk some famous movie star or director just to see a movie with their family or kids. So that's fun. And
they can do that there. They can get away and just be a regular person there.
Right.
You might recognize them, but
sure.
I don't know. I won't. My wife might not. So I'm just behind this guy in line waiting for popcorn.
Sure.
Wishing he would make his mind on if you want Skittles or M&Ms.
Hurry up, buddy. I mean, the movie's going to start.
Come on. I want to see the previews. So what do you think about the movies? A lot of the movies today, it's kind of a lot of the superhero movies, like you mentioned, Marvel mainly, more than DC kind of seems to be floundering a little. But do you feel sometimes when I don't know if you do you do movies that you have to do a review on, or do you choose to do a review on them?
No, I actually choose to see what I'm going to see. For example, I don't cover horror movies at all.
Oh, really?
I'll cover supernatural or ghost stories, like The Other with Nicole Kidman came out a few years ago. That was an excellent ghost story. I'll do those. But slasher, gore, I just don't do it. And it's tied to a traumatic experience I had in my youth. This is not a joke. When I went to Christian Brothers High School, one of our schoolmates didn't show up for several days, and we were worried about him. So we went to his Oak Park home. We knocked on the door. We eventually broke it down, and he'd been murdered. And so we all stepped in, and there was his mutilated corpse. He'd been stabbed numerous times. And I was able to see and smell. That was the most important aspect of that stays with me so dramatically. A murdered person. And it made such an impact on me that I've never been able to see that on the screen because I viscerally remember that experience. And, the guys that do the FX work, they go to morgues. They look at corpses to get the color and the temperature. They do that to study to make it look realistic for the fright value. But for me, it was rough, and I've just never liked being scared. So a little thrill or a little mystery or something that's a ghost story relates to me. So I just don't cover horror films. Every now and then, I'll get into a movie, and it is a horror film, and once I'm sitting there, I will sit and watch it. An example is recently The Substance, which I guess you would qualify as a horror film. And I didn't know it was going to be a horror film, so I don't get up and run out. I sit and watch it. Many times these films are screened for me in advance of the opening, not here in Sacramento. I have to drive 85 miles to San Francisco.
Oh, geez.
Sometimes 3 times a week, a trip to San Francisco. So it's convenient having the Orinda so I can stop and get a Coke or something, or get a beverage of some kind.
You don't drive the Mercedes down there, do you?
No, well, I have on occasion, but I try to keep it out of San Francisco because there's too many of those self-driving cars, and I'm just imagining one's going to just run right into me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I have a plastic car for those trips.
Ah, there you go.
A 2015 Prius.
One that you can just drive, then trade it in, get a different one?
Well, I've had it all this time since new, and it's behaving well, and it's keeping its value, so why change it?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it'll last as long as my other car.
It won't.
It probably won't. But it just shows you the difference between the high-quality craftsmanship of one decade and...
and it's like, that's on another level, too.
Yeah, planned obsolescence of today.
Yeah, it's also old German engineering. You know what I mean? Like, my car is old, too, and it outlives the test of time for other cars around here, but that's a different level, and it's just, it's a beautiful car. So I have to say that, but I'm glad you don't take it to San Francisco. That would hurt my feelings.
Nor do I take it out in the rain.
Yeah.
If I can help it. If the rain starts, but I drive it fairly regularly.
Mm-hmm.
I have a great mechanic, Morris Motors in Walnut Grove, south down the Sacramento River Road. And these guys are amongst the few people on the planet that can synchronize 2 carburetors still, because I've got 2 Solex carburetors in that car, which is why it gets 24 miles to the gallon, which is amazing for a 65-year-old car.
It's amazing for just about any car. It's just wild the way that they used to build those back then.
Yeah.
But so you go to San Francisco 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
To go and to screen these movies?
Correct.
And there are new ones that are about to come out?
Yes, usually Monday or Tuesday, the week before the movie opens, they run the screening, which gives me about a day and a half to prepare, record, and submit via Dropbox to the syndicator the completed 90-second versions. And, of course, the Sunday night show with Walter Sterling is live, so I just do a patch directly through KFBK to WPHT Philadelphia, where he is, and we talk over the internet to reach his transmitter, and then it goes back to KFBK over the network, it's so bizarre. I'm on the radio on a major radio station in my town, but it gets there through Philadelphia.
Sounds about right. So probably like the movies like Scream and Halloween and those, probably not. But what about the movies like, and we're talking about just Halloween movies because that's right around the corner.
Sure.
But like movies like, have you seen Ernest Scared Stupid?
Well, a long time ago. What was that, 1987 or 88 or something like that?
It's still relevant. I love it.
Well, stuff like that, it can be fun. You know what I mean, Vern?
Yeah.
But
that guy was great. I mean, the way that he
was a Shakespearean actor.
Yeah, I mean, the way that he reacted to things, like especially in Ernest Scared Stupid, because you watch that and you're like, oh yeah, that's the way I would react if I came across a troll that I could only defeat with milk. You know?
It's not an often occurrence, I hope. Do you find that often in this neighborhood? I don't know.
Where in San Mateo, where I moved from, yes, but not here. Or, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Well, there's a certain amount of schlock films, like the trauma films of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS, or films along those lines.
Tammy and the T-Rex.
Yes, those have their audience. It's not me, but I appreciate them for what they are. And, they're produced intentionally as schlock. And so it's a whole other level of filmmaking. But I find that some films can elevate you to great heights. And when a movie really works, to me, it's one that inspires you about the human condition in a way that's inspirational rather than the doom and gloom of so often science fiction will take you into these dystopian futures that are so oppressive. Where's the wonderful world of tomorrow instead of the horrible possibility of ugliness in tomorrow? Like Dune.
Yeah.
Dune is pretty depressive.
Yeah, that is a bummer. Breathing through one nostril or something. Like, those kind of movies, I don't know. I think it might just be, and I'm not going to say like the times, because obviously depressing movies have been going on, like,
Since the
beginning. But I think that it's, people have a more, that you come away from a depressing movie with something more, than you come away with from a happy movie. I mean, the happy movie obviously makes you feel good, makes you laugh. But the depressing movie is like, oh yeah, that's real life, or oh, that's sometimes like there was this vampire movie called I don't know if it was Lost Boys or not, but at the end, like the vampire ends up winning, and he ends up like nothing good happens at the end, and the vampire wins, and he doesn't die, and he goes on to like. Oh, Salem's Lot. I think it's Salem's Lot. Have you seen that?
Years ago. The original one from 70.
Yeah. And the vampire goes and you don't see him anymore. It's just movies like that are kind of rare now. Sure. You don't see the bad guy win so much. Well,
it does happen once in a while in movies. And then, of course, there's always Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer. I mean, there's let's not forget that mess. Oh, there was an Abraham Lincoln. Oh, no, a zombie. There was an Abraham Lincoln zombie movie. And it was so bad, it left a stain on the screen.
Oh, I know what I'm seeing tonight. I'm going to find that.
You poor man.
I am a glutton for punishment.
I'm so sorry.
But, my wife and kids are gone tonight. They're on a vacation seeing relatives, so I'm going to watch those kind of movies tonight.
All right. Well, how old are the kids?
9 and 4.
Yeah, well, you kind of want to, they're still impressionable. You may want to shield them from intentional horrible.
I mean, I just got them started on Ghostbusters.
Oh, well, that still has fun.
Oh, yeah.
See, now that's fun. I like Ghostbusters.
Plus, the song is absolutely unbeatable.
And it gets in your head and you can't get it out.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to get it out. I hope it never goes out.
And who are you going to call?
And she's actually going to be a Ghostbuster this Halloween. Now, my oldest is going to be a Ghostbuster now because of that movie, because she loved it. You
You got the costume rigged up to where the tanks and the whole the gun and everything.
Well, it came with one. It came with the proton pack.
Oh, great!
And the little gun thing, but there was a deluxe version that you could buy for like another $80.
Oh my God!
We didn't go that route because she's going to grow out of it. Probably the day after Halloween.
She may no longer be interested in Ghostbusters next year.
Well, she hasn't seen Ghostbusters 2, though.
Oh, wow.
With the Vigo the Carpathian.
It's almost as good as Break Into Electric Boogaloo, but that's, another film from the 80s that should remain dead.
Why were they... I mean, I don't know if it's just because, obviously, 80s, I was a little kid, but the movies back then... You can't compare. And maybe it's the authenticity because they didn't use CGI. They used puppets, which I think are scarier. Puppets in all form.
It's a little bit more human and natural, and so it was fun. I mean, everything was done in camera instead of digitally later. Mm-hmm. Now we're a generation that expects everything to be digital, and so it loses it for me. When I see something big like Dune, where you have all these armies gathering up in the distance, I mean, there was an era when movies actually had 10,000 extras in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Now, that was awesome because they all had to be in costumes. So that cost money.
Yeah.
And those people also ate. So that means they had to be fed while they're holding the spear. And so it was just a matter of epic awesomeness, which is now you just feel, oh, that's just CGI. They can add it, and it seems intentionally artificial.
Right.
And so we dismiss it like a diet soda as opposed to one that is not a diet soda. It's like that. What the hell is this stuff? You know?
Well, and you can see that with obviously the first Star Warses, right? That were, I mean, technically episode 4, 5, and 6. Then they go to, 1, 2, and 3. But then by the time they got to the, 7, 8, and 9, most of that stuff was CGI. And it obviously it wasn't very well received. But then you go to like The Mandalorian, where they brought back people in costume, brought back puppeteering and everything like that. And obviously very successful.
Yeah, I think people appreciate when there's production value.
Yeah.
That they can see or sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, if the technology, the image capturing technology, whether it's 4K, 8K, or VistaVision, which is popular now with Paul Thomas Anderson, a technology from the 50s that he's bringing back, and only 4 theaters can project it that way, but still, the film was photographed that way, so the immediacy of the images are almost 3D without being 3D. They're very clear. The color value is great. You don't see any grain. And so you are in the movie to a certain degree. So if that quality is there is a great value then in making sure that the fabrics of the costumes and everything are not something cheap, but something that you can almost perceive. The textural values are really important because then it seems real to you and not phony. And the more real it seems, I think the more effective it is. And not just on that basis alone. The story has to be good. You have to care about the characters and what's happening to them. I can tell you that Paul Thomas Anderson's new movie, One Battle After Another, which is just opened 2 weeks ago as the time of our chat, was very impressive, had some very good numbers. It was really solid filmmaking, very entertaining, on the edge of your seat. But I couldn't like one character in it. There was not a character in there that had a redeeming social value whatsoever. Now, I'm not a goody two-shoes. I like a good villain. I like him to be evil as hell. But and Sean Penn is really over the top in that film. But they're all ugly people. You have a protagonist, if you want to use big terms, the hero of the story. You want him to be likable. You want to care about him, so you care that, he's going to go through all this crap. You're going to root for him. Mm-hmm. But if you don't, then you're just sitting there watching this all play out, and you don't give a damn about what happens to him, and you're checking your watch. When is this going to be over? Yeah. And that was what happened to me with that particular movie, even though I was excited to see in the prologue all these wonderful shots of downtown Sacramento that were featured in the movie. And the old rail yard, and even the old sugar mill, which, of course, it's a dramatic chase scene. They're running by. The old sugar mill's up there for 2 minutes, and I'm thinking, I got to go pick up my wine club purchase. Because the winery's out of the old sugar mill now. So, I have to watch these movies, and I observe them in multiple facets simultaneously. Most people are not looking, where is that light position to get that effect on that person's head, right? I'm thinking in those terms. But I'm also thinking, is this story motivating? Do I care about these people? I'm able to perceive all those things at once, and then if some discipline in the film is extraordinary, I like to point it out. But generally, I don't like to give people too much. And this is a very important value with how I establish my observation of these films. If you look at a lot of critics, television, podcasts, radio, print, most of them delight in eviscerating movies in a very clever way. They like to think, I'm so smart, I can come up with some really damaging words to call this horrible, and I'm going to delight in the negativity of what I'm going to say about this. Because this is so prevalent that when you think of the word critic, you immediately think negative.
Yeah.
But that's not what criticism is. Criticism is an evaluation. It can also be positive, but people seem to forget that. So I intentionally, since 2013, have looked for the values in the movies I review that are positive. I want to champion those things because ultimately I don't want someone to go to a movie or not go to a movie because I liked it. And I think that's the motivation behind many critics. I want people to listen to what I have to say about it so they're armed with that information when they themselves go see the movie and make up their own mind if they liked it or not. How should I presume to be of the same opinion of the listener? I can't be. Those are individuals and they think for themselves and they like the things that they like. I'm hoping that they think that I'm open-minded enough to offer them little nuggets to think about while they watch it that might make them enjoy it more without giving any spoilers, and at the same time letting them decide. Because ultimately, more than anything, I want them to go to the movie and see the thing. Mm-hmm. Even if it's horrible. And they can either agree that I thought it was horrible, but most of the time I don't think movies are horrible. And if they are really bad, I look for the things that are good in them and I highlight those. Rarely, on a rare occasion, there'll be a movie that's so bad that I get angry.
Like Battlefield Earth.
No, that was better than The Brutalist, which I thought was the worst film I had ever seen. And when I say it's the worst film I'd ever seen, you're talking to a guy that sees 3 movies a week since 2013 and knows every movie from 1900 to 1950 like the back of my hand, sound or silent. I've seen every plot. I've seen them all. Even films that are now lost, I've seen in some fragments or something. I have an inkling about these things. And so with that knowledge base and the things that I did as an exhibitor when I would see these and show these to people, watching people's reactions in the theaters, learning from audiences, because I do all the time, I sit there, I don't go in and watch the movie, I watch the audience watching the movie and see what's working and what's not working. I find it very helpful when I go to review movies. It's usually just for press. There's like 5 of the same guys and gals in there every time. In this huge theater, there'll be 5 of us watching this movie. Every now and then there'll be a radio station giveaway or something where they bring in an audience with us. That is always something I enjoy because then I'm observing everything that I have to make an analysis of the movie. But I also have the added benefit of what is working and not working for the audience because they respond. Sometimes they cheer, sometimes they clap, sometimes they talk back to the screen like they're at a Baptist revival meeting. And so those values are very helpful to me to see maybe I'm missing something. They think it's great. Well, what do they think that's so great about it that I don't think is so great about it? So these are all influences that I have when I try to make these decisions about how I look at these films. And hopefully my analysis is not critic in a negative way, but an informative aid for you to go anyway, see it, and tell me if I'm full of shit or not.
Yeah, that's a good, I feel like that, I'm surprised why people don't do that more, because the most popular and I guess mainstream critic would be like Siskel and Ebert, right? And I remember constantly that they were negative on things.
Sure.
Mainly Ebert, I think, was negative on a lot of the things.
They were famous for it.
Yeah, famous for it.
Well, that's because it makes ratings.
Right.
I mean, don't think that, that used to be a public show, then it became a commercial show. Mm-hmm. There's ratings to be had there if guys are fighting with each other.
Yeah,
because people come in to watch the boxing match. That's what they're, they want to see these brainy guys talk about, sit there, and they were thrilled. Mm-hmm. It was like, there might be blood this week. Let's see. It's just like the ancient Rome, let's throw the Christians to the lions and see what's happened. Yeah, man, that's great.
And it's even like, you could even take that a step further where they almost, made it into kind of a comedic kind of thing where it's Mystery Science Theater 3000 and they were the bickering still, and just the regular guy had to like kind of calm them down. But, they kind of made it fun that way. And have you seen the movie or the show, The Critic with it's the cartoon? Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a few they didn't have a lot of episodes of that, but I saw 1 or 2.
Yeah. John Lovitz. I thought that was it was very underrated. I thought, but yeah, the critic shows, it does seem like they are traditionally pretty negative on that, we appreciate you not giving any spoilers away. But
Well, once in a while I do, inadvertently, because some movies are hard to describe, especially movies that are. This is such a popular trend now, and I can't stand it because they're trying to be arty, and that is that they tell the narrative in an out of order fashion. In other words, this started with Memento when it was brilliant and no one had ever done it before, but that movie was told. The whole thing was told in reverse. You know, the end of the movie's at the beginning, and then you try to figure out like a jigsaw puzzle. I find that very annoying because it's making you look at a device, a mechanism, rather than the story. Because you're saying, okay, well, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. What's going on? And you're constantly in some sort of a frustration trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Now, some people think that's cool because they think, hey, had me guessing the whole time. I couldn't figure it out. I'd much rather figure it out. I'd like to know what the hell's going to happen so I could care about these people and what's going to happen to them.
yeah, because it's almost a distraction,
Right. It's totally distracting.
like a gimmick.
The other thing that is a gimmick that makes me angry, I mean angry, is handheld shaky camera work.
Shaky on purpose to make it try to be authentic.
Well, it could be that, but I think what really is the most frequent use of the handheld shaky camera is to create a sense of agitation, to build tension that doesn't normally exist if you didn't have the camera moving. So if you have a crazy person and you're following them, they make the camera jitter a little bit, and it kind of adds to their psychological dementia. I think this is horrible because anything in any movie that draws attention to itself takes you away from the story.
Yeah.
If you're so focused on the technique rather than the storytelling, you shouldn't be making movies. I know because since the 70s, we've been aware of how movies have been made, and we're aware how special effects are done. There's a lot of the audience that goes saying, okay, impress me. I want to see how cool it is. And I know how you do effects, so if you can impress me, then it's going to be cool. But are they watching the story? No, they're looking for the effects.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you're watching a magician and you're constantly trying to figure out how he's doing it. Like you're not just enjoying the illusion for what it is.
Right.
You know, yeah, that makes total sense to me. Well, I'm interested to get your opinion on, so there's certain movies that when they come out, they're not that popular, and they kind of grow this cult following, you know, like movies like Donnie Darko or Idiocracy, you know, just at the top of my head, like those kind of movies, they gained, or Grandma's Boy, like they gained their popularity way after anybody there could really make any money off of the ticket sales.
Oh no, but they're still making money.
Oh yeah, so
but
streaming things
sure.
like that.
Well, I mean, this is a frequent occurrence. I can give you a very famous example that you're going to say, no, this can't be true, but it is. One of the most famous and beloved movies of all time was not. It won Academy Award. It did fair box office when it came out, but then it was forgotten until the 50s, when television started to buy old film libraries, and they would show these now classic films on TV late at night. And suddenly, a movie got a cult following based on that, the movie I'm talking about. And today is considered, and usually in the top 10 list of all films ever made. But when it came out, it was exactly what you said about those other films.
Citizen Kane?
Casablanca.
That was my second guess. It was either Casablanca, Citizen Kane, or Gone with the Wind. It was one of those.
Casablanca was supposed to be a big picture with Ronald Reagan. It was, they replaced Reagan with Humphrey Bogart. Mm-hmm. And it's a solidly made movie. Every time I see it, I think this movie is so great. But it was a factory production when the studio system was at its height. They shot it in so many days. There were so many of the script pages not ready. They shot the whole thing out of order, but the mastery of all of the disciplines involved when the studio system existed, good performances, and you watch that film, and it really is a masterpiece compared to modern films in many examples. And it's a great story, and it's very moving still, especially when seen with an audience. But that's a film that won an Oscar and probably had a fair theatrical run. In most theaters, it probably played a week or maybe a week and a half, and then it was totally gone for almost 2 decades before it started showing up like in the 60s and 70s. And that's when the Bogart cult started, people who liked Humphrey Bogart. It's all because of late night TV that there was a resurgence in classic movie interest, and those wonderful gangster films from Warner Brothers of the 30s with James Cagney and all of that would have just faded into obscurity, but for television, giving those films a new life. And now, of course, they're huge cash cows for Warner Brothers, and now who owns MGM and RKO and the Warner Brothers films from their classic library. And now they're considered masterpieces, and some of them in the top 10 lists of the greatest films ever made. But so this is I use that as an example to show you that this is not a new phenomenon, but it's been going on since the beginning of movies. Films eventually find an audience, and it's usually, as you suggest, not in time for immediate financial return, which ends up ruining the career of the people's involved because they don't get any work.
Yeah.
And it's only later that they become popular, and then, most of these things were made before residuals, so they're not getting a lot of money. But whoever scooped it up to have, as we call it now, content somewhere else is still making money off of that thing. So they got it for nothing, and they've just had clear profit on some of those titles.
Yeah, it's always amazing sometimes when you think of like certain actors to where they were in like some terrible movies, and then they still somehow have a career and they go on to like produce these banger movies. Like I'll say Kevin Costner. We'll go back to The Postman
Waterworld?
and Waterworld. Yeah, that one. I like that one, but yeah, it is terrible. It is definitely terrible.
It's okay to like bad movies. There's a lot of bad movies I like the Yellow Rolls Royce with. I just love that movie. It did not make any money, but there's something about it that's just charming to me. I'm a car guy, so a movie about a story of a car that goes through these various different owners over many years is fascinating to me. One is a gangster, one is a wealthy Englishman, one is freedom resistance fighter, and so how the car is used until the end of the picture. The film is the car is put on a boat. So stories like that are fun for car guys, but the audiences just stayed away in droves for the Yellow Rolls Royce, and it had big stars. I mean, Ingrid Bergman was in one sequence, Omar Sharif. It had Rex Harrison in the opening sequence, and some famous French actors whose names have gone out of my head. And George C. Scott was the gangster, and Shirley MacLaine. So, I mean, big stars, big movie, dud. And I love it. So, there are many movies you can love. There are bad movies we love. I think a whole guy has a series called Bad Movies We Love, and he talks about them in this way and what they love about them. And because you can love a movie for so many different reasons. It can be a performance you like. It could be an actor you think is great. It could have a musical score that she's great. Look at Ennio Morricone, who people just adore, who made all the spaghetti western scores, and then Cinema Paradiso, which is probably his most lyrical and romantic score of all. Recently died. There was a great documentary about him last year, and he was very singular. But then again, in the old days, the Hollywood score writers like Eric Wolfgang Korngold and Miklos Rocha and others really made the movies memorable. I mean, you can't think of an Errol Flynn movie without an Eric Wolfgang Korngold score, which is so rousing, which John Williams just lifted directly for his Star Wars score.
John Williams,
lifted directly. And so, I'm sure he would acknowledge that, not that he was stealing it, but as an homage. And he's so beloved, so you don't want to say something bad about it. And I don't mean it bad, but there are clear sequences in Star Wars that are right out of Errol Flynn movie scores.
Oh, yeah. Errol. It's funny you mentioned Errol Flynn because I lived in Chico for a while, and Robin Hood was filmed there with Errol Flynn. Yeah, and so you can't go anywhere without hearing about Errol Flynn, without seeing something, because it's like that's all that happened in Chico, really. But that I
understand that Chico State still has the best parties, though. They were famous for the parties.
The pioneer days are over, unfortunately. When I went there, it was right after some kid had joined some fraternity, and they forced him to do push-ups and drink water, and he died from I think it's hypoxia, something where you drink too much water and you dilute your organs, And so the party scene was on its way down as soon as I got there. So it wasn't me, though. I didn't bring it down.
Well,
but something like that will probably bring it down.
Well, yeah. Well, sorry to hear that. Poor Chico. You have my sympathy.
So going back to your car guy, so car movies, and we're Like I said, close to Halloween. What do you think about Christine?
Well, I mean, it was so popular it had a really cheap bad sequel called The Car. Do you remember that one?
No.
The Car. That was the movie that came after Christine to try to. It was a big Lincoln or a Cadillac or something, and it was pretty bad. Oh man.
Because
But Christine's a Stephen King story, so
Yeah.
he's a great writer and a great storyteller. Mm-hmm. Not my cup of tea, but I cannot take away from Stephen King his brilliant work. His recent film, the name of which just escapes me, was excellent. It was absolutely excellent. See, this is what happens. I saw the movie maybe a month ago, 2 months ago. It's already gone. I can't produce the title from my mind. It has to leave a really good impression to stick in my noggin. Christine is good.
What is it called?
A Story of Chuck.
Oh, Story of Chuck.
Yeah.
Oh, you see, you're quick. You're quicker than me being able to look it up too.
Well, it just, I had to wait for the index cards to roll around and then ding. Yeah, okay.
The Rolodex. You
Well,
doing this to it.
it's more like a roulette wheel, really. Sometimes it works, sometimes I lose,
But I that kind of movie is, I think, very, very unique, especially because being a car guy, you there might be something in your mind that tells you that cars are more than just a machine.
We're talking about Christine.
Yeah.
Well, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's a good example of a car that's more than a machine.
Oh, true. Or Herbie.
And, of course, James Bond's, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and James Bond are connected because Ian Fleming wrote both of those stories.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why there's a magical car in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and why James Bond has a car with all the gadgets.
Oh, man. I never really put two and two together like that.
Now you've just got 4. Congratulations.
Yeah, my
Or if
kids
you
love
believe
that
in
movie.
George Orwell, 2 and 2 is 5.
Oh, George Orwell.
That's in 1984. But anyway, that's
well, actually, George Orwell, his last movie was easily
well,
one
his
of
book. He didn't make
well, no, his movie.
the movie about him.
No, his movie.
Which movie are you talking about?
I'm talking about Transformers, the movie.
Oh,
His last movie, he played Unicron. It was his voice.
Okay.
Unicron. George Orwell, his last, apparently that was his last movie. He did it with Leonard Nimoy. He was also in the movie.
But George Orwell died in 1948.
What?
George Orwell died in 1948. He was an author. He wrote 1984. He wrote Animal Farm.
Wait, that's okay. Then who am I thinking of here?
I'd hate for you to have the wrong information on your podcast and have people come yelling at you. George Orwell is an author.
Oh, whoops. Orson Welles. I was thinking of Orson Welles.
Well, that's very different.
Their names kind of sound similar though.
Not really. Orwell, the well part.
The Well, yeah.
There's also H.G. Wells, who wrote War of the Worlds, but
Right. That
and Orson Welles did a radio play of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds to add confusion.
that was the famous one, right?
Yeah.
That showed all the confusion and
Yes.
terror.
And then they made movies about it, the Panic broadcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, because I listened to that.
For some.
I used to listen to like old radio shows
Sure.
with my grandpa, like The Shadow and obviously War of the Worlds. There was a couple other ones, but
What evil lurks in the hearts of men? Yeah. The shadow.
The Shadow knows. Yes.
Margot Lane, his faithful. Anyway, go on.
But that, like, when you mentioned that you had that old studio with those microphones and the lamps like that, I pictured War of the Worlds right there, or somebody recording The Shadow,
Sure.
It's a shame that all that kind
I
of
still
burned
use
down.
those mics. They're fantastic microphones.
Oh, they're still, you were able to save the mics?
Yes, well, I had them rebuilt.
Oh, wow.
Because try trying to buy one now, you can't buy them now for less than $6,000.
Yeah. Wow, that is wild.
I have one that was used by Groucho Marx on You Bet Your Life.
Really?
Still has the NBC flag on it.
Still has a little bit of hair from his mustache in there.
Probably a little more cigarette smoke. Sounds Say the magic word, win $100.
That's another thing I want to talk about, because people used to speak differently back then. And,
Yes, they did.
And you mentioned like the enunciation was a part of it.
There's the NBC guide of official pronunciation of words. It was published many times and is still used by announcers today.
Really? Like mainly on the news, kind of announcers or sportscasters?
It's a guide of
like
pronunciations for foreign words or other things so you say the words correctly. I mean, the local TV people and radio people don't use it anymore, but the old people who were brought up, seriously, who have been at least 30 years working, have used the NBC pronunciation guide. But there was also something, and this ties into a very popular discussion topic, which is why do people in old movies talk like that? Referring to the diction.
Yeah.
They want to call it an accent, but an accent is not that. An accent is the sound of a person who is from a foreign country that shapes the pronunciation of words when spoken in English in a certain way. Whereas the diction is the matter of phrasing and pausing and pronunciation of letters accurately. So let's first establish the difference between accent and phrasing and pronunciation. And there, at the beginning of radio and as a social tool, it was established here in the United States that to really make it in business or be successful in acting when sound came to the movies, and so the audio quality was fairly good for its time, but there were still certain frequencies that didn't record well. Proper speaking and important diction and pronouncing each letter in each word was important. In other words, you don't say what, you say what.
You pronounce that H.
Yeah.
It's a hard H.
Yeah, it's in there. So what would you like to do? Responsibly. You pronounce every syllable instead of running it off. How many times do I listen to I want to throw something at the television every time someone says Sacramento on the radio instead of Sacramento. 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 There's a T in there. English is a language. Use it. Mm-hmm. If you'll forgive a correctness, in just a conversation we've had moments ago, you used the phrase very unique. You can't say that. Something is either unique or it isn't.
That's true.
It's a singular thing. You cannot qualify unique because it stands by itself. The other term like that that's annoying is that, look at the word quality. People say quality and think that must be high quality when they say quality. But no, the word quality has to be qualified. Is it low quality? Is it shitty quality? Is it great quality? Is it the best quality? Mm-hmm. You have to unlike the other word, you have to define the level of quality. So the use of English is wonderful, and I think that people who speak well inspire others. But at the beginning of radio, they actually sold records that would help people pronounce things correctly, and they involved tongue twister exercises, breathing control, many other devices to practice breathing and sitting up and speaking very carefully so that you would say words like indefatigable with all of its consonants, and they are all very clearly. You don't say indefatigable; it's indefatigable.
I have never heard that word.
That's the word I most frequently use to describe Mary Jane Pop, because she's like the Energizer Bunny. Nothing stops her. She started in television when it was black and white in the Midwest. She came out here, and she's been in every broadcast outfit that has ever been involved. KCRA, KRBK 31, K-High Radio, KFBK. She just never stops. When some gig ends, because in broadcasting, you're at the whim of whoever runs the station. They say, we're not making enough money, cut off these people. It's not because their work is bad. Mm-hmm. It's because there are financial problems, and they just cut stuff. So people in broadcasting move around a lot from station to station.
Yeah.
But Mary Jane never lets that get her down, and she keeps moving forward. She is an amazing person. She's a woman now who's been around for some time. Let's just put it that way. Mm-hmm. And she keeps working with the energy of a 21-year-old. I get exhausted trying to figure out how she does all that she does. So I'm straying off, but the word indefatigable is something that describes Mary Jane Pod. Nothing gets in her way. She keeps moving forward. Nothing stops her. That's indefatigable.
Well, thank you.
Sure. So these records would train people how to speak correctly. Now, when sound came to the movies, stage actors were ushered in from New York to teach movie actors who had just done this in silent movies, showing and making emotions with facial expressions, its own art form, and very rarefied, especially between 1925 and 29. Silent movies were beautiful and a wonderful art form, but they require constant attention. The minute you look away from the screen, you've lost the thread of the story. You can't rely on the soundtrack to keep the thread while you go up and get some chips and then come back down, and you will have lost a whole plot element, and then suddenly you're in a different country or on a boat somewhere, and how do we get there? You have to really be involved. So sound allowed for a little bit more casual observation of a movie from the part of the viewer, but the studios felt that it was important that since they had the responsibility of entertaining the masses, they should also educate at the same time. And so they specifically thought it important to help the public at large by hiring actors who spoke effectively. And so theater people did this because they had to enunciate words on a stage without a microphone and be heard in a 3,000-seat theater in the back row. Not by yelling, but by just projection. And in order to project properly at that distance, you had to form your consonants and vowels very clearly. And so they became the vocal coaches for movie stars who'd never spoken. And a lot of movie stars lost work because they couldn't transition to sound movies because they either had very thick accents if they were foreign stars, or they had problems with things like lisps or other speech impediments. And so there were these courses that would help. And this was famously made fun of in the movie Singing in the Rain, where you have a character, Phoebe Dinsmore, who is the vocal coach, an actress that was from Sacramento. Kathleen Freeman is teaching Lena Lamont, the character played by Gene Hagen, to use round tones. Around the rocks the rugged rascal ran. Simple Caesar chooses chestnuts. He sees them and he chooses them in cheery, charming chunks. Little things like that. And it does help. It does help so that you don't get lazy. You don't have this like you're talking out of the side of your mouth. And so when people saw that in the movies and noticed that that's not the way the people talked in my little town, it immediately drew a demarcation line of this is different. In some people, it inspired them to speak to that way. Other people just thought, well, this is just really crazy. I ain't going to do that. I can't understand them highfalutin words they're using up there on the screen.
Highfalutin.
So, I'm making fun unnecessarily and certainly not with intent of cruelty at all. But I thought it was a fascinating time. So if you listen to Cary Grant, they even made fun of that in Some Like It Hot, the wonderful part where Tony Curtis finally has Marilyn Monroe on the boat and he's going to make the move on her. And he's talking like Cary Grant. Why don't you come over here and sit down? And then Jack Lemmon says to him, nobody talks like that.
Wow, yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
So even the movies make fun of it a little bit, but it's often called a mid-Atlantic accent, which is not a real...
not a real place.
Not a real place, right? It's somewhere between English and American dialogue. That's why it's called mid-Atlantic. It's not like you have to go out in a boat and find how to learn it right in the middle there and find the Titanic while you're at it. No, it was this sort of blend of English from England and movie dialogue. But the intent was not malicious. The intent was to elevate human ambition. And these records came out people could buy, like Dr. Willard O. Robinson's course in effective speaking. I have a copy of this on SoundCloud anyone can listen to. That helps with the pronunciation of those words. I get a little lazy too, it happens. Especially when I have to do a 90-second movie review and I've got more than 11 lines of dialogue 11 lines in the script, I'm going to run over time, so I have to speed it up, and then I start tripping over words when talking that fast.
Wow. I honestly, I did not know that. I always thought, for some reason, I thought that it was because of a certain, like a technology constraint, like the microphones may not pick up all of the sounds back then.
I think this is a common misconception, and this is fueled by the desire of the industry to constantly sell new products, and simply that technology in the past was not as good as it is now. And I find again and again and again examples where technology in the past was actually superior to what we have now. I have a car that proves that every day. That car just keeps running perfectly as designed. Sure, it doesn't have air conditioning. Sure, I can do 110 on it, but don't, because it has disc brakes, and I don't want that to be the day it doesn't decide to.
It has drum brakes, you mean?
Yes, of course.
Really?
Yeah,
four-wheel drums?
Yeah, four-wheel drums. So, drum brakes, not disc brakes. But as designed, it was perfect. So you take a look at my 1935 44BX RCA ribbon velocity microphones, and they sound better than any microphone I've ever used. They're fantastic. The problem was rock and roll. That's what killed the ribbon microphone, because it was only good for studio use. The minute people started taking a mic stand and swinging it around like Elvis Presley, he broke the ribbon in it, because that swift movement, the air going through the windscreen, the ribbon is just this little ribbon of aluminum foil, and it would snap, and the microphone was dead.
Oh, interesting.
And so that technology was abandoned for the cardioid microphone, which could take a beating and still have good highs and good lows, but you're not going to get the low frequency response of those ribbon mics. They're amazing. And that's why they still sell for thousands of dollars when you can find them. And there are 5 companies that make reproductions of them for less money, but are still priced at the $4,000 or $3,000 range, that look exactly the same, except the RCA logo isn't on there. So they did something right in 1935, and now duplicates are being made now, because it's a sweet, fabulous, rich sound that doesn't exist anywhere. But this happens a lot in many other technologies too. And so I've always fought the idea that the old technology is not as good as the new technology. When sound first came to the movies, the sound was on discs. It wasn't on the film. They didn't have soundtrack on film. They were developing it simultaneously. The disc process was called Vitaphone. The first film was Don Juan, The Adventures of Don Juan with John Barrymore. And then a year later, they came out with A Jazz Singer with Al Jolson, which people think is the first talking movie.
I always thought that was the first one.
Well, that's the first one that has spoken dialogue. But there was synchronized music in Don Juan a year earlier. But there's just that short sequence with Jolson in The Jazz Singer. And then it wouldn't be until 1928 that Warner Brothers made The Lights of New York, which has talking from beginning to end. So there were problems on set recording sound, because it all had to be done live while the cameras were being taken. And so they would use things like telephones on the table and have the actor talk into the telephone, because that was the pickup for the sound on the set. They hadn't devised booms that would swing over the shot, so it was out of camera yet. So there were a lot of technical challenges when sound came in. But those Vitaphone discs, I have a couple of them from 1927, 28, and 29. The fidelity on they're 16 inches. They're big, like an old radio transcription disc. So that's bigger than a 12-inch LP by obviously 4 more inches going out in diameter. But they started from the inside and worked out, instead of a record which starts on the outside and goes in. And it was this really thick pickup that was weighted on the back of the thing, and it went deep into the groove, and the groove was fairly large. And the fidelity is amazing. I play those things back on a special transcription turntable, and it sounds as clear and as sharp, with an occasional bit of surface noise, like any record would have. But even that's mitigated by the heavy pickup. Nowadays on LPs, we have very light styluses. But that heavy pickup just kept that thing from going, and it was mechanically interlocked with a projector, so the projectionist would have to load into an X spot in his frame in the projector and march the X on the record and put them together, and then the mechanical interlock, as the projector started, the record would start playing at the same speed. And it was in 1927 that they decided that the correct speed for the record should be 33 1/3. And that's how we have the LP speed we have, because it was all born when sound came to movies, and that was the first use of that. Then radio stations started using 33 1/3 for 15-minute radio shows they could put on a 16-inch disc, so they could have supplemental radio shows that were played from disc. This is before the arrival of magnetic tape, so everything had to be cut into a record that had to be played back later. So I'm always amazed by this technology because I play this stuff back, and the clarity and the high frequency is just sharp as a tack from a 1945 radio broadcast. And this is probably what you were listening to with your grandfather, listening to The Shadow and all those things, except by the time those were on those radiola cassettes, the generations from the transcription disc went on to a reel-to-reel tape, and from there onto a cassette and a duplicating master. And now the loss of quality just went to zero.
It was on a CD, so it's even transcribed again.
So, right. So what you were hearing is so many generations away from the original. You find the original transcription disc of the Hindenburg disaster, and it sounds like you're there. The sound is so good. So I want to disabuse the idea of old technology not being superior to new technology. Another example of that is how film is preserved now in the digital age, and that is movie film on film. Some of the film prints from 1890 are still in perfect condition that were stored properly. Some have faded away. Some are on nitrate, and that was very flammable. They came up with a safety film in the mid-40s and started using that for all films later. But movie film prints, unless they are mistreated or mishandled, aside from color fading issues, but for black and white certainly, still look as good as they did when they were made. And for 80 years, those images were preserved in that method. Now, we take a digital scan of those negatives at 4K resolution or 8K resolution, and we have a great scan, and they can go directly from the negative, so it even looks like one generation closer than a film print would look. Great. But what happens after you've got that scan? Suddenly, there's the additional cost. They think they were saving so much money because it was $8,000 a reel for film, right, to make a print. And you imagine there were 3,000 screens, so you can, across the country, 5,000 screens, so the number of prints that had to be made. And, of course, the amount of money Kodak would make, making Kodak the world's largest user of silver, because there's silver in the emulsion of film. That's why they called it the silver screen. And so suddenly, the digital age arrives. Everything's digital. Kodak is going out of business because nobody's making the amount of film prints they used to make for all those theaters. Everything's now digital. But what happens with the digital image? It's not stored on film. Well, you've probably experienced a corrupt hard drive in your experience, right? So this means that now you've got this scan on this large hard drive, which can accommodate the huge file size. But you now have to start migrating it to other hard drives on a regular schedule and have it in duplication for redundancy. So all the money you saved on making a photochemical film print is now lost because you now have 5 times the amount of work in preserving the image of a movie. So is that progress?
Seems like the opposite. Congress.
I asked the it's from 1776, the musical show, they use that line. Yes, so that's an example of the old technology may have been quite good. And if you think about it, the engineers that came up with 35 millimeters of movie gauge for exhibition went unchanged for over 100 years. They must have been pretty smart about what they were doing and not limited in their skill as technicians or engineers.
Yeah. I mean, now that you say that, it's like, yeah, because I have some old, like this old Snap-on toolbox, right? Or, and the tools in here compared to like the tools that you would buy, that one, I redid that one, but that one's old too, compared to like what you buy today at Home Depot. It's leaps and bounds. Not necessarily in how it's used. It could be used better, but the durability and the longevity of it can't be beat now, and it sounds like it's the same with those,
how often do you buy a new pen, to write just anything? But I have a 1938 Waterman fountain pen, and all I have to do is clean the nib. And, I don't have anything to write on here, but I clean the nib, and it works perfectly fine after 80 years of service, exactly as designed. And, I don't have to buy a new pen all the time.
Wow.
I just buy ink.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean, that's...
So I don't think old things are they're berated unnecessarily. Now, I can understand the desire of having something new and different, or the latest thing if you just want to be trendy. But I'm not very trendy. I'm just the opposite. sort of in the opposite direction. I don't see value in those things. I mean, it's fun to have new things if you've got money to burn and throw away, but I don't actually know any. Well, I probably do, but there are very few people I associate with regularly that can barely afford to pay their rent every month. So, that's the world in which I live.
Yeah.
And that's why I've always loved the movies, because it takes you away out of the misery for a little while. And so I want a movie. The movies I like the most are the movies that make you forget about daily life and take you somewhere completely fantastic or wonderful, or makes you happy, or makes you want to sing, or makes you want to cheer or tap your toes if there's music you like, or a performance that's just really great and inspiring. Because that elevates the human spirit, and it's a wonderful tool to do just that. And when that happens, I'm really excited about a movie. Movies that make you more depressed when you leave, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fact.
But there is an aspect of our culture which disturbs me a little bit, that we like to see someone and their human condition degrade. And there's some weirdness, because that's the only reason I can describe people going nuts about the movie The Brutalist. Because it's a story of the guy played by Adrian Brody that goes from ambition of arriving in the United States to becoming a drug addict to becoming a good architect, and then he's shit on by the builder that does it, and literally screwed by him in an unnecessary scene in the film in a quarry in Italy.
Oh.
So it is it's depressing. It affects you psychologically so negatively, and yet I asked an 18-year-old who came out of the same screening. I was there with the director of the film, and the 18-year-old said to me, "Yeah, I love that. Well, what is it you like about it?" "Oh, just because this guy, he just keeps getting worse and worse for him." And I just could not understand how any human being would find that cool. But this kid did. And maybe he's able to separate himself, as this is a fictional experience, from life. Or maybe it's something just as simple as it makes them feel better about their own situation when someone else is having a much worse problem. But that's a weird way to do it as far as I'm concerned. I was not happy with the director, Brody, because I asked him about a scene in the film. I said, "There's this great scene with Adrian Brody and his wife. They're driving in the car, and there's a speech by JSK on the radio," right? And most of these auteur directors now who handle everything, they write, they do everything, they're supposed to know about their movie, you think. So I'm thinking he included a specific speech by Kennedy because it had some meaning that was impactful for the scene. So I asked him, "What speech did you use by Kennedy in that scene?" It was a great scene. It was one of my best. I was being flattering, but I thought it was the best scene in the film. And he says, "Oh, I don't know. I had someone in a department figure out what that was."
Oh.
Something from the era. We just needed something from the era. And then that told me everything I needed to know about that guy, which was he may be the director and auteur of this movie, but a detail like that he leaves to minions.
Yeah, it's like he's surface level almost.
Yeah, so I never have taken him quite seriously since.
Yeah, I can see that makes perfect sense.
I think, God, I've made 3 documentary films, and I sweat blood and tears making those films. And they're not great films in any great scheme of things, but they were interesting for me at the time, and they were fun to make, and people seemed to like them. And I know how hard it is to make a movie. But I was aware of every aspect of those productions. Every little detail was there intentionally for a purpose and a reason. Mm-hmm. At no point do I just throw in something because it seems right in a willy-nilly or random way just to sort of capture the moment by getting something vaguely like that. No, everything in my pictures are there intentionally and with purpose to provide an additional layer so that it's like a Fabergé egg or those Russian dolls where you open it and there's another one and
Actually,
there's another one. And
I have one of these.
Yes, exactly so. Yeah.
Warriors.
Uh-oh, feedback. We are now experiencing feedback in this podcast as we go and look at this rather interesting Russian doll.
Yeah, see, it's the Warriors, but it's you got Klay Thompson in there, and he's not around there anymore. But yeah, I had to get it out
because he's now a Russian doll.
Yeah,
it's more lucrative.
Yeah,
than playing ball.
But wow, I can I learned a lot from this. I guarantee that everybody listening, everybody watching, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know, and I appreciate you coming by and doing this. And
it's my pleasure.
We should do this again.
Sure.
And so let's tell people where they can find you right now. And we'll put a link in the description and everything too.
I'm on this show. And I'm glad to be here too. Very, very thoughtful. It's great to be here. And I thank you for having me.
Of course.
mabhollywood.com is my website, which is years out of date because I need to find a new webmaster. I don't have those skills. But beyond that, I have a Facebook page, Matias Bombal's Hollywood. That's MatiasBombal''S, Hollywood, like the city, Matias Bombal's Hollywood on Facebook. And there you can see all the crazy stuff I'm up to with the Orinda Theater. And my movie reviews are linked there every week if you don't happen to be in a city that has a radio station that plays them. Of course, KFBK News Radio, 7:35 every Sunday night with Walter Sterling on Sterling every damn Sunday. And also on WPHT Philadelphia with Sterling every damn night on Friday nights when the ball season isn't happening because he's preempted by the ball game. And then many other stations that carry the 90-second reviews. But you can hear them all at the Facebook page every Friday as well. And then just go to a link, takes you to SoundCloud, where you can find a playlist that has every movie I've reviewed since 2022, about 400 movies I've covered since 2022.
Wow. That is wild.
If you scroll down the SoundCloud page, which you will find if you go to Matias Bombal's Hollywood on Facebook and click a link, you'll find it. You can find the playlist. And the oldest one is at the top, and then scroll all the way to the bottom for the most recent one, which tomorrow will be it doesn't matter because I don't know when you're hearing this podcast. So you're going to listen to this and you just go there and you'll find whatever the latest movies are at the bottom.
Good deal.
Thanks so much, man. It was great.
Hey, pleasure was all mine. All right. See you guys.